Peace, peace. Good evening, good evening. Hood Mystic Spiritual Advisory, hoodmystic.com. I am the Hood Mystic, and we proudly present to you this week in astrology, new moon, and Libra. Some interesting things. I'm going to do this one a little different. I got a group of different pictures that I just want to focus on, really the astrology, and kind of like give you kind of like details of what I'm talking about instead of like just rambling on and trying to give it more like of a pinpoint description of the astrology, because there's some real things going on as far as the astrology. So I just want to be able to have a discussion about it. So what we have is a new moon. And so like any other new moon, we're dealing with the cycles. This new moon brings a lot of luck, misfortune, jokes, coincidence, and sudden changes, and I'm going to explain to you why. We have somewhat of a conjunction in dealing with this new moon. We have 4 planets, and those 4 planets that I have circled are Mercury, Jupiter, the Sun, and the Moon at 26 degrees Libra, and this is third decan Libra, almost close to Scorpio. So we have more of a darker side of Libra that we're dealing with in the new moon, and the new moon actually represents the dark moon. So you have a lot of dark energy basically when we're dealing with a new moon combined with the opposition. So that's a hard aspect to Uranus, and that's the actual sudden changes that we're talking about. So right here you have, and what's so interesting about this opposition, what makes this Uranus so powerful of a transit, is because it's at 26 degrees. And if you know anything about 26, that's the power of 13. And we just came off of Friday the 13th. So 13 plus 13 is 26. And you having a new moon in particular it doesn't have to be on 26 degrees. It just so happens to be on 26 degrees Libra, and that is totally opposite of 26 degrees in Aries. And what's aligned with that is an actual planet that's about action, the Great Awakener, Uranus. So for a fact that sudden changes are going to be happening, it's so inevitable. When you're dealing with Uranus, you're dealing with sickness, you're dealing with death, and you're dealing with coincidences, and you're dealing with awakening. So it's all about attitude, mental health, mental attitudes going into something. A lot of hype. If you're dealing with a lot of hype and a lot of like pressure, you might want to rethink this, because we're dealing with a post ecliptic type of phase when you're dealing with the moon cycle. So this is our second new moon since the solar eclipse. So what is that saying? We're dealing with powerful energies and synchronicities. I'm telling you, this 26 is not a coincidence. This 26 is, do your research on 26, because this is about action, and I'll have some examples of that. Just to elaborate on this opposite Uranus transit, let's look at these names on this list of moon opposite Uranus celebrities. Jennifer Jason Leigh. You may know her as Daisy Domergue from Hateful Eight by Quentin Tarantino. And if you've seen that movie and you want to like really get into some Uranus energy, if you take her character, she was a woman outlaw, and it was just very, she was the main character of the movie, and very demonstrative and very violent. And you know, all those guys came back to save her. In general, moving forward, we have Taylor Swift, who has this transit. And if you know anything about Taylor Swift, you're talking about sudden uprising, and you got a lot of hate towards Taylor Swift, but you also got a lot of love. And then you could think about that Kanye West, where it's like a joke, but it's serious to her. It might have impacted her. She had psychological trauma from that incident, but it's a funny incident, but it's very traumatic and very sudden. How you think you getting an award, and then Kanye West and come and say Beyonce's supposed to be getting this award. You know, it's kind of like sudden. It's like it's weird, and her success is very sudden. Carl Lewis, you got another Olympic world athlete in 1984, I think, Los Angeles. He was a runner. Sudden success out of nowhere. Whenever you think about Olympic athletes, you got to think about the Uranus transit, because it's every 4 years. So we're talking about, you can kind of get a glimpse of the energy, but I'm going to keep going with more examples. JFK Jr. has a Uranus opposite moon opposite Uranus transit. So I'm like, if you think about JFK Jr., he was set for stardom and success and possibly becoming a president like his father. Then all of a sudden, you know, he died in a plane crash over the ocean. Princess Diana of Wales, the most beloved princess of England since Elizabeth. She was, you know, beloved, and she made some choices, and she had a sudden death. You know, still dealing with this Uranus energy. Donald Trump. I mean, what's more sudden and what's more polarizing than him? So you know, he has this actual transit. So when you try to visualize and understand the energy of this new moon, understand that this is a new moon zone. So the new moon is October 19th, but it's 2 days before and 2 days after. So to kick off this new moon, before I started this live, I started watching a basketball game, and it got in. It's probably like 3 minutes, and they called a timeout. The first timeout, they came out of timeout, and Kyrie Irving threw an alley oop to this boy Hayward in between two Cavaliers. I don't know. He thought he was playing with. He had a LeBron James flashback or something, because he knew that he knew that boy couldn't catch that lob. But man, he ran into two giants, fell down, broke his ankle. You know, ruined his season, altered the course of the whole NBA season, because you had this whole off season, all of this hype. You know, Gordon Hayward just signed this big old contract with his new team. He ain't played but 2 minutes, and he might not ever play the game again, because this is a major injury. Like, his whole foot broke off. Like, so you figure, okay, so I'm gonna look at his aspects to see if it's anything in relation to what's going on. Boom, he got Jupiter opposed Uranus in his chart. So I'm saying this to say this: if you don't know where Uranus is at in your chart, and you just out here living and you don't know your astrology, you need to really kind of like really study where Uranus is at in your chart, because you just never know. And the preparation and the kind of mental attitudes that you got to have, because you know me, I don't have no real harsh aspects to Uranus in my chart, thank the Lord. But depending on where Uranus is at in your chart, and if you unprepared, you know what I'm saying, you never know what can happen anyways. But you know, like I'm telling you now, Uranus is playing a heavy part over the next 5 days. So that's sudden changes and accidents, deaths, you know what I'm saying, like coincidences, but it's also luck, you know what I'm saying, and happenstance, you know what I'm saying. Good things can happen based upon your mind, you understand. Understanding the Tower Tarot card is what I like, is what my intuition said, to really understand this new moon that's happening October 19th, and really going beyond a particular framework that's too narrow in your life. So, in Gordon Hayward's case, maybe he wasn't supposed to be playing basketball this year. Maybe he was supposed to be working on his memoirs. And that's how you got to kind of think. His life ain't over. He just signed a $100 million contract. You know what I'm saying? He fine. You know what I'm saying? But all of this hype and all of this dreams of having like the successful NBA season is just dead. Like, you know what I'm saying? His mind, it's an 82 game season. You could just forget about that because your whole fucking foot done fell off. So all of the things that you've been planning, you got to kind of take a step back and really kind of see what's going to happen over these next 5 days. Last thing I want to touch on is Mercury's influence. Um, in a couple episodes ago, we talked about Mercury representing Ishu, representing the trickster god figure, and he's on top of this whole new moon transit. So the Mercury energy is that of Mercury is in Scorpio, by the way, and is kind of thinking on a deeper level, making you think, challenging you. Can you find humor? Can you find delight? Can you find pleasure in the bullshit? Like the shit, like the actual shit. Like the tough, when the tough gets going, can you still manage to create a smile or create a happy mental state, a happy emotional state? Because I'm telling you, it's all about your mind frame, because a negative mind frame will keep you stagnated. You need to be up and about and be in certain situations so serendipitous things can happen to you, because that's the energy that is palpable. You can feel a shift, you can feel a transformation coming. So you know it's coming. You want to see where Uranus is at. You want to see where Jupiter. You want to see what house Scorpio is at in your house with Jupiter now getting there. You need to figure out what do you need to what deeper aspects of your life do you need to really tackle over this year. So get with an astrologer. This is not like a real long message. It's just very simple. New moon in Libra. Shit is about to jump off because it's in Libra, but it's really in Scorpio because of where it's positioned. It's technically in Libra, but the energy is mainly Scorpio. We got Jupiter in Scorpio. We got Mercury in Scorpio. And we also have the sun getting ready to head out of Libra and enter into Scorpio season. So, you know what I'm saying? My girl is a Scorpio. I know she excited. I'm excited for her. I'm excited for everybody because this Jupiter and Scorpio energy is very real. And as long as all of this energy is situated opposed Uranus, just be on your guards. Because even after all of this happens, we still got a Mercury retrograde where it comes back and re-triggers this, and then we have Venus and Mars moving up towards this point that triggers this even more. So we got, a good month and a half or so of just being kind of on edge, because a lot of things is going to be triggering this Uranus and Aries. So just, man, be careful. Tell your loved ones that you love them. Don't text and drive, and don't take shit for granted, and don't believe the hype. You know what I'm saying? Kind of create your own reality. Do your own astrology. See where Uranus is at in your chart. See where what house Scorpio is at in your chart. And, blow down on your mom and be like, what time was I born? I know you can remember. You know what I'm saying? Try to figure out what time you was born. Get with an astrologer. real astrologer can figure out your rising sign without your time of date. I actually have a technique where we can talk about body parts and what part of the body actually hurts to figure out your rising sign. So, it's some astrologers out there that can really help you. And it's not about worshiping astrology, it's about understanding astrology. Because, if Gordon Hayward knew astrology, he would have not went for that live, I'm telling you. And it's a lot of things and a lot of situations where you might find yourself where you kind of feel like it may be a little too risky or a little bit over to the edge. You could easily say no because the energy is not helping you with your risks. Yeah, the energy is helping you become more wise and more have a actual positive perspective moving forward. So, if there's any questions or not, we will move on. But I just wanted to touch bases on this new moon, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Peace out.